My wife made those cookies, so she wanted to bring them tonight.
Yeah, very, very
He's over.
good.
Yeah,
They were good. Mine was good. Okay, I'm not gonna have a second one right now.
Yeah, one bit.
No, we're good.
Robert, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 11th meeting of the West-MEC Governing Board. This is a regular board meeting. And it appears that we have quorum. We have Mr. Garcia, who is online, and Mr. Miglerino tonight is not present. So moving on, I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented or recommend changes to the order of business. So I will need a motion. Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second by Ms. Bosom and Mr. Strucko respectively. Members, please cast your votes. And it appears we have 6 yes and 1 not present, so the motion carries. Thank you, members. Next will be the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. And that will be led by Dr. Laura Jamie. Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we will, thank you. And now we will pause for a moment of silence and today a moment of reflection for the people of Israel. Thank you. Next, moving on, summary of current events, Superintendent Spurt.
Thank you, Chairman Pingerelli. Exciting time coming up here in October. Our Experience Orange event will be October the 27th at our Northwest campus from 9 until 11. If you have not attended one of those, you might want to consider doing so. Experience Orange really is an invitation to our entire community for those individuals that might want to come and learn more about West-MEC. It's kind of a West-MEC 101. And so we bring them in and we're able to share an update and overview of what West-MEC does, what we have to offer, and give them the opportunity to ask questions about things they may want to know more about. Had a couple of tours since the last we met. The president of AASA, which is the National Superintendent's Organization, Gladys Cruz, and her assistant superintendent from New York came and toured our Southwest campus. And again, the purpose of that is to really share the value add of a career and technical education, so that when she gives her national speech in San Diego in February, she can incorporate how important it is for career and technical education to be at the forefront of the national conversation. Also had a second tour at the Southwest campus with TSMC Scott Holman and Pearl, who is their economic development and workforce development person. And so we will continue to refine the types of technicians that they're looking for to hire at TSMC. To date, they've hired 10 of our students from West-MEC at TSMC, and they're still employed there, doing well. And so they're very excited about that. A couple of weeks ago, CJ and I did the filming. We are up for the West-MEC Award for Education and Workforce Development. So we did the filming of that. We'll find out the winner of that until the actual Best of the West dinner. We took a tour of the Nestle site. It's probably half to 3/4 done. And if you've not been by the site, or if you had, if you go down Northern Avenue behind Luke Air Force Base, it looks like there's this huge building with just a huge tower of scaffolding. And so that scaffolding is not really scaffolding. It's actually going to be the AI technology at the storage area for all the bottled coffee mate products that they put together. It's all going to be done from your fingertips. So it's all going to be an AI shop there. So very excited about that. And in fact, we were able to define even more so what they're looking for in technicians. And I believe it's called an electromechanical technician, which we can do, but it may be a combination of a couple of our programs at the Southwest campus to be able to provide that type of expertise. It's the engineering side with the technical aspect to be able to say, can you also fix some of the things that may go wrong with the pieces of equipment that are there? So it's a combination job responsibility. We had our first in-person meeting for the academies at Agua Fria. They're waiting for their bond issue to see the success there to begin working on their academies. I had a great time, went to Wickenburg a couple of weeks ago. CJ and I went up, and they have a leadership series, and they have their community members. There were about 25 of them that participate, and they have different folks from different places come and speak around. We were education and workforce, so we had a chance to visit with Wickenburg community, which is fantastic. You know, you get different questions from different parts of the community, and so it was great to meet some folks there and really create some connections in Wickenburg. Thanks to Mr. Garcia, he got me on the ACA pitch team for a potential electric vehicle company that may be looking to come to Arizona. So I was able to get with them and share our West-MEC story and what we had to offer in relation to what they were looking for as it relates to the electric vehicle piece. So I was very excited to do that. I was also on a panel for the Glendale Chamber of Commerce and their Workforce and Education Readiness Now conference. Had a chance to talk about West-MEC and the value of CTE and the work that we do in preparing students and adult learners for the workforce. Had my first GPEC board meeting, went well. Met with TSMC about their technician training partners. And what I really am impressed about is, you know, far too often there are silos of information that go out to individuals and groups. So instead of TSMC meeting with one workforce group and another workforce group, another education, now we're all in one room together saying, what can we collectively do in our own space to be able to provide the workforce needs for TSMC, which is great. And I've told people, you know, at least the last year, we can't be everything to everybody, but we can be everything to somebody. And so we want to make sure that we understand what our piece is in TSMC's work in the advanced manufacturing piece. We're going to do that as well, if not better than everybody. I was able to attend Agua Fria State of the District with Superintendent Islas. And then the last thing I'll mention here is last spring, Maryland put together our CHOPS, which is the Charter Homeschool Online and Private School group, to come in. And this was in the spring. We had a great lunch. And I said, why can't we do this twice a year? Once right before we do the enrollment process, then once after, because we never get a chance to celebrate our collective successes. So I think there were about 65 or 70 that signed up. Ms. Boozer, probably 45 to 55 folks showed up. Fantastic conversations, able to share the successes of West-MEC, because keep in mind, they give us their students and we do our thing and then we give them back. And so we want to share that success with them, plus our updates. So 45, 55 folks that were there, and just a great conversation, had some breakout sessions and really just a great conversation. They were very impressed. They hadn't realized that they were 17.2% of our overall student population. And they know collectively that we're still working to recruit even more for our program. So just lots more things on the list that we've been able to accomplish. Those are some of the highlights. So just excited about the things to come.
Thank you very much, Dr. Spurgeon. Thank you for that report. Moving on to governing board members. Would anyone like to Let me start with Mr. Garcia online. Mr. Garcia, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do not this time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members?
Oh,
Okay, Mr. Ramirez.
yeah, just want to share that I had a great tour of the Southwest campus. This is Dr. Parsons, I'm not here. Back there, yes, I was very impressed by all the work by not only the students, but also the instructors and the instructional aids that they have available. I was blown away. I stayed longer than I planned on staying. IT was playing with some of the stuff, but they have this I forgot it's physical therapy. Yeah, it was very impressive. Yeah. And the instructor also very knowledgeable about it. Students are obviously very engaged and interested in it. It's just made me very proud, obviously, of the work that West-MEC is doing. Excellent work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see here. On September 18th, I attended the Arizona School Board Association Budget and Finance Workshop. And it's still very complicated. I mean, it was a good learning lesson, but there's still so much to understand. And then on September 21st, I attended the Veterinary Science Advisory Committee led by Danny Eberhardt. And she's got 3 really sweet puppies. That made my day right there. And I attended as an observer. And so they reviewed expectations of our students before and after they started at West-MEC. And then they reviewed recommendations of how we teach, what we teach, and what materials to use. Their goal is to have 85% enrollment, and we exceed that. We have 100% enrollment. So, they blew that out of the water. And then they continue to stagger internships between campuses so that they don't overwhelm their employers. One of the things I found interesting is the dual enrollment program is 6 hours for our students, but there's another one that's a similar program, and it's called Prior Learning Assessment, where the students can earn 12 credit hours for a student. But that's partnered with the Mesa Community College and Pima Medical Institute, which is really, really far away for our students to travel. So, I don't know if we could partner with Midwestern University if we're talking, with them or what, but I'm looking forward to the next advisory committee with them. I really enjoyed, what I heard, and I guess the next meeting is they're going to have the planning for the budget and stuff like that for the veterinary science. So I'm looking forward to that. Then on the September 29th, 27th through the 29th, I attended the Associated Career and Technical Education, which is the ACTEE Best Practices Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah. And they took a look at AI and the future with CTE, and it was like one of our own, Rachel Mann. I don't know if anybody remembers her, but she's originally from West-MEC, and she was the one that taught that class. And they were talking about how 90% of the online content will be AI by 2026. So, there's just a lot to look forward, with that. We're probably going to have to get with legislation to start setting policies, because, as much as it's going to be, forward moving and stuff like that and change everything we do, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to look into, and just to protect ourselves and our schools and our students. One of the things they said was that beauty and cosmetology is probably not going to be affected by AI, but I have a feeling that that's not going to happen. So, let's see here. They had author Mark Perna speak, and he has a podcast that's free. So if anybody's interested, to listen to that, you can go to www.markcperna, and that's PERNA.com, and listen to his podcast, and everything that he was talking about at the conference there, he repeats in his podcast. So he was really, really good. I really liked him. And he just talks about advocate CTE for everything. You know, don't call CTE CTE. He says, you know, call it in terms of competency and professional skills, and it's the pipeline for every career. And then he talked about Gen Z, you know, the Y generation, and he thinks that they're the most intelligent, that generation that there is. And just simply because they take shortcuts for everything, you know, to get wherever they want. Otherwise they get really bored really quick and whatever, but I guess there's some salvation in that. He said one of the things that, you know, that they crave the human connection because they're on, you know, technology so much. So that's a bridge we have to build with them if we're going to, you know, reach out and educate them the way they need to be educated. So, I mean, the decisions that they make are based on their lifestyle. And so we have to start asking them, not so much what career do you want? I know when people ask me when I was a kid, what career did I want? I didn't have a clue, you know, I really didn't. And that's not different, but I guess we need to talk to them about, you know, what interests do they have? You know, what really motivates them? What do they want to do? What do they see as their lifestyle? How do they want to live? And reach out to them that way. And just insight, inspiration and passion and get a pathway for them to get there. One of the things I think is we need to create projects for kids to have hands-on, have fun, you know, with education instead of, you know, just reading right out of a book and memorizing and all this other kind of stuff. I think they really need to have fun that sticks. And it just, you know, creates all kinds of creativity and things like that for them to move forward. Let's see what else was there. Then let's see, I think on October 5th was the, what was the name of it? Thing that we went to? The Chops, yeah, and that was a lot of fun too. You know, got to talk to a lot of the charter school counselors and private school counselors, along with our, you know, recruiters, and Esperanto was there, and it was really good. It was exciting to see that they're really engaged in West-MEC. But that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you. Wiley?
Well, I don't remember exactly what I did or when I did it, but I know I went to some orientations in America. Actually, one of my granddaughters drove me around. She was so excited to go back. She graduated from one of our courses and she went with me to those and she loved it. And I did too. And then I did go to an advisory committee at construction out at Northeast. And toured that. It was fun.
Thank you.
That's it.
I'll just real quick. I came across a construction company that did a roofing program, and I was able to put them in touch with Charlie Ellis, and so they're going to be teaching roofing for a week next year, I think. And so maybe as we go through, it's like, oh, I just happened to stumble across it, but I'm sure there's other opportunities to bring private enterprise into our classrooms.
I forgot one thing, Dr. Pigarelli. There was a businessman that came to that advisory committee for construction. And he said, the reason I am here is I have to find out exactly what this is all about, because I had someone apply for a job and I have never had such a good interview. And that's why he came. I just thought that was great.
Did you tell him to hire more of our
He's
students?
ready. Yeah, he was there.
Thank you. Thank you, members, very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to call to the public. Ms. Brown, do we have any green slips? No, we do not. So that moves us into information and discussion section, D, and we now have Mr. Williams, recognitions and celebrations. Thank you. Welcome to the podium.
Chairman, Dr. Pigarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon, it's an honor to fill in Mr. Welch's space, because there's few people that get more excited about Cognia than Mr. Welch. So I will do my best to do it justice, but Cognia is our accrediting body on the education side of the house. That's what allows for our credits to be accepted across institutions. This is a global accrediting commission, and I think we still say formally known as North Central Accreditation, but it's been long enough now. I think Cognia can stand on its own right. But they have a state level award that is given out to one individual in the state of Arizona. And this is the Cognia Excellence in Education Award. And it is again, a state level award presented to one individual who's demonstrated unparalleled leadership in promoting and advancing excellence in education. Nominees' success would be demonstrated in the following areas: having a common vision and mission for higher expectations among students, faculty, and the education community, demonstrating a record of significant and distinguished contributions to the education profession, provide a lasting positive impact on student learning, serve as a role model and mentor for future generations of educators, and demonstrating significant professional contributions to a variety of professional organizations. I'll read just a snippet of the nomination letter for this individual, and that is: one need only speak with this person for a few minutes to recognize the passion for which he promotes the achievement of all students and teachers by cultivating a shared vision that makes powerful teaching and learning the central focus. This person's reputation has been well crafted with over 30 years of service, spanning the classroom, school, district administration, and leadership of several professional associations. He's proven himself a strong, passionate leader in each of these positions. And in short order, upon arrival in Arizona, not only inserted himself into the state level conversation around education and career and technical education, but has led the conversation, the policy discussions that are taking place. And there really is not a more vocal cheerleader and advocate for West-MEC and CTE than our very own Superintendent, Dr. Scott Spurgeon. So we'll be very excited to see him be recognized and receive this award at the ASA Fall Leadership Conference in Tucson on October 23rd. Congratulations again, Dr. Spurgeon.
Dr. Pingrelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. One other recognition we wanted to recognize tonight is our CTSO officers. So you guys have a list of those officers in front of you this evening, and we wanted to just take this opportunity to see over 400 students that we have in our essential programs that have taken on the charge to not only be involved in their CTSO, their career and technical student organization, but to be leaders in those organizations. And serving in different officer positions that you see there on your list. As a reminder, those CTSOs are a critical piece to an effective, high quality CTE delivery model and to a high quality program. And we really lead the charge in many things, but with our CTSOs across the state, we represent second to none at conferences, competitions. And those things are all important, and we pride ourselves and our students in those accomplishments. But even more importantly, they're serving out in the community all the time through these organizations and community service events and things that are happening on their campuses. So we just wanted to take tonight to recognize those opportunities throughout the year. We'll find opportunities where we can have some of those students here in front of you. In addition to our program CTSO officers, we also have this year, we had over the last several years, we've had some state officers as well. And this year we have two state HOSA officers, Antonio Soto, who was a student last year at our Northeast campus, as well as Annalisa Cruz, a Southwest campus student. And so those students are serving at the state level as state officers. They're elected by their peers from their peers across the state to serve in those positions. So even a higher distinguished honor. And again, that's been something that's been well established. That's a very small officer team that represents the whole state. And over the last several years, we've had both on the skills side and HOSA state officers from West-MEC that have been a part of that. So just want to take opportunity to recognize those state officers and all the important work that they do across our campuses and in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on, legislative and business partnership update. Mr. Williams, again, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Dr. Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. As always, it's an honor to be able to provide an update to the board on items pertaining to legislation and business development efforts. I'll piggyback on a couple of items Dr. Spurgeon shared earlier. But one thing that we did for the first time last week was convene West Valley mayors specific to West-MEC and the conversation around West-MEC, wanting to make sure that they were familiar with the West-MEC of today and where we're at and what the future looks like. So it was well attended for our first West Valley Mayor's Breakfast. We had 5 mayors. We had Mayor Osborne from Buckeye, Mayor Wires from Glendale, Mayor Shope from Litchfield Park, Mayor Hall from the City of Surprise, and Mayor Pereira from Wickenburg. So we know that collectively the mayors have a strong voice in the West Valley and they're a critical element of the ecosystem here in the West Valley. So we were happy to convene them. Dr. Spurgeon provided them with an overview of West-MEC and things to look forward to. There was an accountability component and we were able to highlight our many successes from this most recent school year. And we got some great feedback from the mayors on behalf of their constituents and the cities that they represent. One of which continues to be more people need to know about West-MEC. And this has been kind of an age-old conversation for us. And we're doing, we think that everybody knows West-MEC, but they continue to tell us that, no, we don't think that our residents know about West-MEC. They see it. They may see the sign, but they maybe don't know what that means to them and how they can use West-MEC, both our high school programs, adult programs, our partner programs, to support their pathway. So we appreciated their honesty and feedback in that. We look forward to working with them. And I think are you going to piggyback on the citizen advisory piece? Go ahead.
Really?
Yes, please.
So one of the things they mentioned, as CJ said, was the feedback that we get is there's a number of citizens group that really don't know what West-MEC is. And so we've offered our services to come out to any citizens group, council meetings. And so I think we have 3 set up already, and that's going to continue for us to be able to provide more information around West-MEC. And we're really excited to do that because what the mayor said was we have just citizens that don't have children in school. They don't really know West-MEC. They drive by the Northwest campus, some of our buildings, they're like, what is that? They said, we get asked that all the time. What is that building? What does West-MEC do? So we're going to start a quest on, I think we have 3 set up so far with an interview and a couple of meetings with city councils and a couple of groups we got coming up pretty soon. So it should be exciting. Thank you.
We were able to really illustrate how West-MEC is a regional asset. So it's not, if you're in Litchfield Park, and just because you don't have an actual West-MEC facility within your city boundaries doesn't mean that West-MEC can't be a great asset to your community and the businesses within your community. Obviously, the families that work can take advantage of the training and credentials earned through West-MEC. So it was a great morning spent last week with the mayors. That was followed the next day by the Superintendent's Institutional Advisory Commission. You'll remember just about a year ago, we reconvened this group, which is a cross-section of leaders from education, economic development, workforce development, business and industry to help inform the superintendent's vision moving forward and the implementation of meeting the workforce needs and business and industry needs in the West Valley and how we articulate that with our education partners. This group has just grown stronger and stronger. So twice last year we met again last week for the first time of this school year, and it is just proven to be a wealth of information and insight, people that are really bought into what West-MEC is doing and how we fit into that larger ecosystem. So another great convening we look forward to in the spring, April 18th, bringing that group back together. This time it will be to showcase how our satellite programs make up an important part of the fabric of West-MEC. We'll be out at Deer Valley at the Avenue 27 restaurant to highlight their culinary arts program and some of the other programs that happen out at the satellite campuses. Tomorrow is the official kickoff of the Arizona Education Economic Commission, AEEC. This is an initiative out of the Arizona Department of Education, and Superintendent Horn tasked his Chief Strategy Officer, Edward Cota, with developing a commission that would bring education and industry together in support of meeting the unprecedented workforce needs that Arizona is experiencing. So we're looking forward to that. It kicks off tomorrow at 10 a.m. with the press conference. This is taking place at Helios. And it will be live streamed, and I can share that link with Ms. Brown to share out with the board members as well. So we look forward to that. Dr. Spurgeon will have a speaking part in that, as well as myself and some other leaders. We've got representative from a delegation from Taiwan and a representative from the Swiss delegation as well that will be there. We've got U-Haul, Banner Health, Abrazo Health, TSMC, other folks that will be there in support of this new commission. And then that will be followed up with a 4-hour work session where ADE will facilitate a conversation between education and industry on how we move forward. How do we bring these two systems that historically have operated in their own silos together in support of not just business and industry, but the residents of Arizona and the people that we serve. So very much looking forward to the kickoff of AEEC. We have Build It Arizona. This is Governor Hobbs' initiative to double the amount of construction and trades industry apprenticeships in the state by 2026. And Board Member Robert Garcia had, I point to your empty chair, Mr. Garcia. I know that you're online with us. I'm sorry. But he kindly invited me to participate on this committee, and we will kick off with that committee in development of the plan this Friday. And again, a couple of the goals of this initiative, again, to double the number of construction and trade registered apprentices by 2026, increase the access to these pre-apprenticeship programs that directly enroll registered apprenticeship programs, creating these pathways. Again, linking education, CTEDs, post-secondary business and industry. So I look forward to being a part of that. There's a lot happening simultaneously in the state of Arizona, some sponsored by the private sector, some sponsored out of the executive branch, some out of Department of Ed, all in support of the great work that we're doing here at West-MEC. We are happy to be a part of those critical conversations. On the business development side, I just want to provide a couple quick updates. One, I had the opportunity to attend Grand Canyon University's Center for Workforce Development grand opening. This is a space, and I can't remember, Dr. Pingarelli, you may know the name of the restaurant. I can't remember is it Havoc? What's that? Havoc? I can't remember. It's there on site, but they have renovated this space and reopened it in support of workforce development. They partnered with manufacturing companies, Benchmark Electronics, Modern Industries, and Lux Precision Manufacturing to create a CNC machinist pathway that will prepare students to learn computer numerical control, CNC, in support of these next generation manufacturing jobs. So really, again, a strong alignment and articulation with West-MEC programs and what we're doing. We've created some great conversations in their early conversations with Grand Canyon University and how we can leverage that pathway for our students. I had the opportunity to participate in West-MEC's West Valley Workforce Success Series. This was a live webinar that they did, and I was able to join two of our local directors, Mike New from Buckeye and Nate Showman from Agua Fria, to talk about how K-12 and CTE is really the foundation of the labor pipeline and talk about workforce development in the West Valley. So that was exciting. I promised Kathy I would talk about a couple of upcoming activities out of West-MEC's Alliance. We've got the fundraiser happening at Top Golf, November 16th. We have a tentative January 28th car show. That may or may not include the raffle of the famous Maserati. Is that correct? All right, very good.
can do it before. What date is that?
That is tentatively scheduled for January 28th. And then in the spring, we've got our bowling fundraiser at Main Event in Avondale, I believe, April 4th. Again, that's in the spring. All of this in support. There you go. And we can celebrate Board Member Bosom's birthday. All in support of West-MEC and our students and being able to access our programs to help offset those fees and some of the credentials associated with our programs. Again, the Alliance also is facilitating the $100,000 that the City of Surprise has committed annually to support the dental assisting adult ed program at the Northwest campus. So they're facilitating those funds as well. A couple just last before I go, I have to share some cool events that are happening within our circle of influence. One is Dysart's Career and College Expo happening October 19th at the Dysart District Office. This is really 5th through 11th grade students that want to learn about Dysart CTE programs, West-MEC CTE programs, community college, university, military options for students. It's sure to be a great event. Arizona Science Center and the SciTech Institute, affiliated the Arizona Technology Council, is hosting their STEM and Innovation Summit, October 24th at the Arizona Science Center. I mention this because, again, more and more CTE has become a part of the STEM conversation. We've over time realized we've got more in common than we have different. So this is a great summit, October 24th, 8:30 to 5 at the Science Center. And in particular, they will have a track within the summit focused on career and technical education and STEM. Lastly, Peoria High School will be hosting their community job fair, sponsored by Jobs for Arizona Graduates, JAG, and the Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona. Again, Peoria High School, October 26th, 10 to 2. With that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Will you have any of those dates posted?
Yes, I'll include all of this in my weekly letter.
Okay.
On the mayors and everything, how do you address those pockets of unincorporated areas?
They were invited.
So like who came from Anthem?
So we had actually from Anthem, we did not have any representation invited, but the example I was thinking in my mind was Sun City West, where we reached out to
But they're not in our district.
their.
They are.
No, they're not in a school district. They don't pay property taxes.
I pay property taxes and I live in Sun City West.
Parts of, there are parts.
There are some pockets. of-
There is a pocket of not Westbrook Village, but the other one up there, Antenna Lakes is part of the city of Peoria, really, even though it has a Sun City mailing address. But most of Sun City is not in any school districts.
Sun City West is just a little bit.
So those unincorporated areas like Anthem,
We would seek an Anthem is a great note that I'm making right now.
there's
because we
like
did not.
30,000 people in that community.
Absolutely. But we do try to find like the next closest entity that would be able to serve as a representative to that community.
And then even like north of Surprise, there's all those large acre lot homes and there's thousands of people up there. So I appreciate what you're doing
Yeah.
and it's great. It's just, hey, how do we get those unincorporated people also to know about West-MEC? Because those are a lot of agriculture people or I think they would benefit if they knew about our programs.
Great point. Thank you.
And grandparents.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, probably for the unincorporated Sun City in particular, you might reach out to their homeowners association, SHOA. And because they have very large membership representation at their quarterly meetings. Because I know that representatives provide legislative updates to them. So that might be something to get on their agenda.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if the school has done this in the past or not, now that the weather's starting to cool off, we're gonna have a lot of food festivals, air shows, trade shows, car shows, all kind of type of shows. Have we ever had a presentation or a table at any of these events in the past?
Sure, yeah, we've got, and Marilyn would be better to speak to some of the activities that our recruiters will attend, whether it be at some of our high schools. We try to piggyback on as much of these as we can, especially as the weather allows for it to move outdoors.
Thank you for that question. Yes, they go to GAIN events. I mean, there's a lot of community events that they're invited to. They've gone to the Luke Air Show and they've gone to the Buckeye Air Show. So just depending on which one comes when, but in the evenings, they're gonna be, like we talked about the Dysart Career Fair. Almost every one of our member districts has a career fair in the evening that they go to. So there's always more to go to, but they are out wherever they can go.
Yeah, sure, you
You
get
hear
a lot of
anything-
exposure in the community at one of those events, yeah.
We used to do the Estrella Car Show when they were doing that up the hill for a while. So
Oh,
they're all different, but
Yeah.
yes. But if you know of people, and that can help us get into something else, then we're always happy to go to more. So that about it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, information on staff professional development.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, Chairman Dr. Picciarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. Tonight, I'll share a little bit about the professional development team at West-MEC, and I believe there's no greater place to work at West-MEC than in professional development. And we are a team that believes that we're transforming teaching and learning, which ultimately has an impact on student success. If we can equip teachers with the skills needed, then ultimately they will impact students. So there are a number of things that our team does to add value to the organization. And I'll list a few. I've listed a few here that you've already been able to look at, but explain a little bit of those. One of the things that we spend a great amount of time doing is providing certification courses. So teachers come, if people come to West-MEC from industry who don't have any teaching experience, and we help them to get certified to be teachers, and then we give them the courses that they need that are approved by the state of Arizona as college credit to then maintain that certification. We also work with student services. I've shared with you last year the website that our own coding students have built, and we host all of our courses on that. The student services team hosts hundreds of courses and opportunities throughout the year, and we host those on the website. We also do a lot of work with internal training, what we call West-MEC U. So when we have a teaching and learning day, the courses that our teachers take, and just most recently, some of the administrative assistants in the organization took some training, and we call all of that West-MEC U, growing our employees. We do some work with technology integration. We have a PD specialist who focuses exclusively on the use of Canvas, which is our learning management system, and how we integrate that with our programs, and then PD. And so we help with that component. I'll skip certification. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but I wanted to talk briefly about OSHA and NC3 credentials. We provide exclusive training for OSHA, which is a credential, and then NC3 has a number of credentials or certifications for our students. So this training comes out of professional development for students in our central program. So we have a couple of people that do a lot of that. And then the other thing that you can see there is CTSO integration. Jared talked a little bit about how that student officers come and get trained. So we have a team that work to help teachers understand what CTSO is, as well as what are the responsibilities of officers. And so we help throughout the year with that. So let me come back to the certification, because a lot of what we do is around certification advisement. So with permission, I've asked Ms. Wiley if I could use her as an example. Ms. Wiley, you may not know, has extensive welding experience. She's a welder. And I know that she is because she sent one grandson through our welding program. So she comes to us and says, I'd like to teach for West-MEC. I really want to have an impact on students in the community. And so I sit down with Ms. Wiley and I ask her about her experience. I ask her about her education. Does she have an associate or bachelor's? Do you happen to have a certification from AWS or another accrediting body? And we take all of that, we put it together, and we create an option for her to get certified. So now she's a certified teacher. We just let her go into the classroom. Not so fast. Ms. Wiley, do you know how to deal with parents and having communication with parents? Ms. Wiley, do you know anything about how to write a test, how to grade a test, how to balance your grade book out? How about classroom management? What do we do when students are disruptive, or how do we set the environment for a positive culture? She knows none of that, as well as our teachers don't know any of that when they come to us. And that's what the professional development team does. We do that for our central program teachers, as well as for all of our satellite teachers. And as you'll see here, teachers around the state. Today, we have 64 teachers that work for West-MEC in central program. 98%, that's all but one, don't have any teaching experience when they come to us. One teacher that we've hired has a teaching certificate. He's certified in special ed, so he has a tremendous amount of understanding around teaching. He went to school to be a teacher, but that's one teacher. So you come to us and you don't know how to teach. You're certified without any teaching experience and you're equipped, as the state says. And so it's our job to help. We've developed, along with the C&I department, what we call the Teacher Induction Academy. This is a 5-year process to train our teachers through professional development and an alongside instructional coach that works with our teachers throughout the year. And they help them on lesson planning. They help them on classroom management. They help them on writing rubrics, how to create a rubric and using a rubric to grade, and as well as working with challenging students and writing objectives and all those educational terms. And that's really what this Teacher Induction Academy does, that we help with, and that Dr. Laura Jaime in the C&I department do. So that is the training that goes on for our teachers. Many teachers, though, as we said, come to us who aren't West-MEC teachers. Let me introduce 2 quick teachers to you here. Barrington, he is not a West-MEC teacher. Barrington lives in Yuma. He heard about us as a great way. He currently teaches down there, and he wanted to be a law and public safety teacher, which is a different certification. So over the course of 7 months, he came to us. He'd get up bright and early, drove from Yuma to West-MEC, took 15 courses, 9 people, including C&I teachers, C&I folk, as well as professional development instructors, helped him on this journey. And so this is a celebration for him. He's one of our few that take all 15 courses here. So we're very happy with Barrington's work. I will let Matt Jones in Paradise Valley tell you a little bit about his journey.
Hello, my name is Matt Jones. I actually work at North Canyon High School. I'm the welding teacher here. And I just wanted to say thank you to Joel Wakefield, Tama, Frank, everyone over at West-MEC. They've really helped me be successful in the classroom, honestly. I came in 2020, didn't know a thing. 3 years in, I've taken 15 different classes through West-MEC, and they've really made me feel like a professional in here. So I appreciate you guys. I'm actually on my last class for my 15 deficiencies. So I'm almost at the end of my road, and I couldn't have done it without West-MEC. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Now, Matt was very gracious, at North Canyon in Paradise Valley. There were many people that helped him in this journey. The first time I met Matt was online. He came to us during COVID when we taught some things online. So he's at one of our success stories also.
Hello.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are new in professional development. We've been talking a couple years about Canvas. Canvas is the way that our in PD, now that we have a course shell and participants submit work there, they collect their work and all the resources are in there. It is also being used by all of our teachers as a platform for them to hold their curriculum as well as to provide access for students to have resources. One of the things that's new that we've put together over the last 2 years is this idea called memberships. Memberships is probably one of the most beneficial things for our team for a number of reasons. Teachers come to us all year, and I'll tell you what it was before so you can appreciate what it is now. Ms. Wiley needs to come to us 15 times to get all of her training over the course of 3 years. Every time she registers prior to memberships, she had to register, make sure it was okay with her CTE director. They had to create she had to register to get an invoice, then get a PO, then take it to their business office. And then once their business office took care of it, they had to cut the check, send it to West-MEC. It went upstairs to the business department. Kim would take that check. She would let Jessica know in PD that she was paid. That's one class for one person. So what we did is we looked at we started with member districts and we said, historically, how many people have come to West-MEC from your district and set a price structure for that that's unique to that district? So they're not all paying the same amount. If you've got 30 participants across the year, then they pay a different price than others. And it's one invoice, and then they have unlimited registrations for the year. And so that has freed us up. It's allowed us to keep an administrative assistant who has a lot to do with one invoice, one payment. And then we've priced it so that we have been able to make some money. We didn't lose money on this. We'll go back and then rework that, meet with a relationship with a local director the next year. The second thing that memberships have been able to do for us is something that we've never been able to do in PD, and that's create 2 price structures. So we offer a wonderful price for our member districts. For $35, they can take a class. You'll not get anything near that anywhere in the state for one of these college credits that we're receiving. But that price is not the same for people that are not a part of the West-MEC community. So for those people that aren't part of West-MEC, they pay $50. And it's still a great price. We could sell our product, I believe, for more, but as we think, with inflation figured that would be. So memberships have allowed us to do that. The third thing is this use of interns. So Patrick Clausen and our team has put together a process that allows interns from our program, from our satellite programs, to come and then to intern with us to help with some of the things that we have in PD. He's done such a good job of putting it together. We had somebody from Boulder Creek last year. We have somebody, I want to say, from Tolleson District this year. And Business Service has said to us, hey, we'd like to have an intern. CNI says we'd like to have a couple. And Maryland said, hey, we'll take all that we can get. So we feel like we've done a good job with putting the process together to have high school students come in and appropriately do work that would align with their program, providing an internship. Just a nice word that one of our participants said about the 11th class that they took at West-MEC. So who comes to our training? Last year in the 2023, Peoria topped the charts at 65 registrations. And although I can't list all the districts that came, you can see the member districts that came. How nice that a charter school, Stride K-12, is one of our top users of West-MEC PD. That's a relationship that we've fostered. They too have purchased a membership. So they send a lot of people. We get one price from them, and then it gives them unlimited time to come. Peoria, look at Pinion. Pinion is up in the northeast part of the state. They drive down to come to our professional development. They love our PD. Mesa, Agua Fria, of course, Yuma, as I talked about, people across the state. This last year, we offered 22 of about 25, 28 courses, serving 56 districts across the state. We've issued 353 certificates. So let's go back to Ms. Wiley. Ms. Wiley, when you come to class, you've got to be there for 7 or 8 hours. And then you have homework, the dreaded homework. So when you complete this homework, then you earn a certificate that is it's not transcripted, but it's approved by the Department of Education for credit. So we issued 300 some odd certificates, and you can see the number of individual registrations we've had. And then you can see the people that have come from across the state. I've not included West-MEC in there. So where's the West-MEC number? West-MEC has had 81 people this last year. So these are our teachers that have come to our training. These would be individual registrations compared to some of the others in the state. Now, we've talked a lot about what we do for teachers, but the next two things that you'll see there are CTSO officers. Last year, we had 550 students come to us for CTSO officer training in the months of late August, month of September and October. I think we're gonna almost double that number for this 23-24 year. And then we issued over 550 OSHA 10 certification, or rather credentials for students. So those are specific to students in our central programs, as well as some of our member districts. And you can see NC3 certifications over 1,700. And then I believe it was in July or August, we earned our national recognition from NC3 as a school on the rise, being one of the few that has consistently increased the number of NC3 certifications that have come out of our district.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
and this may sound really stupid, but Mesa, I'm really surprised with Mesa being there. Aren't they part of the EVIT boundaries?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
And they came to West-MEC.
Yes, ma'am, they do.
I like it.
They love our PD, and as we think about some of their options, they could go to, when you come across the valley, I mean, that's just crazy, but they would rather come to us than drive to Tucson to get some of the training. But we have a large number of people that come from Mesa. And so, like I said, this membership has been incredibly helpful for us for increasing the effectiveness of our staff. So thank you for your time tonight. I would love to answer any questions. The professional development department is the best place to work at West-MEC.
Thank you, Mr. Wakefield. Members, any questions?
I just have one. You said instructional coaches. What's their background?
Thank you for the questions, Wiley. An instructional coach has been somebody who has been a teacher for a number of years. They've been very successful as a teacher. They've acquired these skills, and so then they come to work with teachers to walk alongside them.
And I envisioned that would be
Yeah,
what it was.
just
because
so helpful for our,
yeah.
they're the lifeline in many cases for us.
And I use that when I'm out speaking to people. I say diesel mechanic. But we have someone alongside of him
Yeah.
to learn.
Very
how to
true.
be. Thank you.
I'm excited to see membership. I would consider that subscription in private sector. We call it subscription model, which is the most, I don't want to say lucrative, but it's a recurring cost. I hope that just like the PIR contract, it goes up annually. I think that's the right way to do it. I think, you took that challenge very good. I would say I'd throw down another challenge, which would be, instead of having them drive, how do we do it online? Because then it opens up the whole country. If I can get $50 a class from somebody not only at Pinion Elementary, but maybe in Kentucky or something, because they can do it online. And if you record the class and they just have to do the homework, maybe it costs us $75 because it's going to take someone's time, but there's I think that's your next step. Very good, but that's the challenge I would lay down.
Mr. Straka, we are up for the challenge and we are doing that now. We offer a course called PK Test Prep. It's one of the core, we're the only entity in the state that offer a test prep course. Most teachers that get certified in CTE have to take a professional knowledge test. And so we offer an asynchronous, meaning that it's not face-to-face online. People register, we have one quick online meeting, and then they have 6 weeks to take it, and it preps them for this test. We are offering in December, we're offering lesson planning. It will be synchronous, meaning that we're online, they're online at the same time. And then we're also offering in the spring a school-based enterprise course. So we appreciate the challenge. We'll continue with that work. But
Yeah, it's just if you, just one more thought is, if you record the course, then it doesn't take a person. They just sign up to sit through this video and you have tests along the way. And West-MEC makes money for a past.
one of the challenges that and I appreciate that the thinking is that we hold so highly this idea of engagement. We want our students to be engaged. We want our teachers to be engaged. So how do we do that where we maintain engagement so our instructors are seeing we're modeling what we want them to do with our students? So we appreciate the challenge and we'll continue.
I think of that, I think it's Concerta or whatever, that all those classes you can take from different universities all online, kind of same thing, but no, very good.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. My question is more, what was the reason that West-MEC decided to take on this project? Do these other school districts not offer professional development for their teachers?
That's a great question, and I'll take a walk back in history. In about 2008, 2009, 2010, the dream really was to provide free and wonderful professional development for teachers that are coming into CTE. And although we couldn't do it for free, we knew that it was going to take a tremendous amount of work. And part of the agreement that West-MEC has with our member districts is that we will provide professional development. A lot of CTEDs don't have the capacity to do that. West-MEC provides all of this. I think you're going to find the best value at West-MEC. Pima JTED, our partner down in Tucson, they provide a lot of these same courses. And then the state association does. There are WAVE up in Northwest Arizona. They have started to then get teachers trained to provide these courses. But it takes a huge commitment. And so thank you to the board for your commitment to professional development, because it is quite an undertaking.
You might have answered that. My second question was going to be, what was the vision for this? I think you just answered that, and it's self-funded, you said, through the membership fees?
Yeah, currently the membership fees cover the cost of the course and the resources for the course. But we've got a great team that does a lot of different work. So
Okay, thanks.
any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wakefield. So next on the agenda is a discussion on employee sick leave and vacation policy.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I ask some clarification here? Board had discussion in March, and I've been asking for an action item. Is this an action item?
No, it is not.
Okay, so I specifically asked for an action item. My email from September 27th to you, Dr. Spurgeon, and Louisa, was an action item. So could I suggest we move this to next month and make it an action item and not waste the board's time on another discussion?
Okay, would you like to table this, make a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion just to move it to next month and make it a discussion or an action item.
Okay, and is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table item D4 by Mr. Strucker and Ms. Wiley respectively. So members, Any further discussion on this? None. So members, please cast your vote.
This is an informational item, so you'd have to give me time to actually make this an action item in board docs, so, or unless we can just do a roll call.
We
vote,
can
because
just do,
there's no,
Ms. Brown, why don't you just do a roll call?
okay, one,
Yes.
Ms. Bosom,
Yes.
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 Mr. Sorry, Garcia. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, members. Motion carries 6. Yay, 1 not voting, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, annual expenditure analysis of the voter approved capital bond. Mr. Hicks.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Spurgeon, staff, community members, thank you very much for allowing me here to present our bond report. This is required as ARS 15491K requires that if you spend bond proceeds in any year, you're required to have a community meeting between September 1st and October 31st. You might be asking, who am I? My name is Mr. Ken Hicks, and I'm a consultant brought in to try to complete some of the end of year tasks that we have before us. And this is one of those 2 tasks that I'm on the agenda for tonight. So I did indicate in a memo, we did not have a lot of expenditures in our bond fund last year. There was only approximately around $2.4 million, and almost all of it was split at one project on one campus, the Northeast campus. And I believe that was our vet program. So currently there's approximately $51.8 million left in that bond proceeds program, in that bond proceeds fund. And currently there are plans to spend all of it and more. So there's programs or activities scheduled this year at all 4 of our campuses. Ranging from renovating our bus barn, expanding the energy and manufacturing labs, security labs, advanced manufacturing, expanding our healthcare and farm labs, and some additional work at the Southeast campus. So in total, there is expenditures planned probably greater than the $51 million, which will require some supplementing from our capital fund. So the 610 or district additional assistance capital outlay funds will finish out that fund. And although probably will not spend all of that money this year, we'll probably under contract to commit to spend all that money, if not this year, the following year. And I will stand for any questions.
Dr. Spurgeon.
You might also want to mention why it's really important for us to commit these funds prior to the end of the year.
That is a great comment. So one of the, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, when you sell bonds, you really have 3 years to spend the bonds. The goal is not to sell bonds and sit on the money. There could be some arbitrage or some other calculations that you're making money greater than what you're paying in some of it. So there's worry of that. And so when we sell bonds, we are required to put a 3-year expenditure plan together. Sometimes things happen and it changes, but we should be under contract by the end of the year to commit all those funds. Don't have to spend all of it. And even if we're not, we can get an exemption with an attorney, but we do have to explain why we're not. So you do have 3 years to spend the money. So thank you very much for reminding me.
Thank you, gentlemen, for that clarification.
Is it the $51 million you need to spend? Or you have to commit it?
With what the, yes, it has to be committed. It has to be on paper to be committed for there's a plan in progress in space. Yes.
And if we have a plan, like construction, there's payment phases and stuff. So we don't have to spend, as long as we have a commitment to spend it, it doesn't have to happen like within 12 months or something. Because there's no way you're going to build something in 12 months.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, correct. You do have to be on a commitment. If it's going to be longer than a year out, I would be getting an attorney's opinion and working with your bond advisor. I believe it's Steve, and I'd be working with them to work on that, but get it all committed this year and you will be fine, which is the plan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dick.
Can I ask one more question?
One more, certainly.
So the board voted to take 6 million of our capital to buy back some bonds. Is this conversation or is that a different person?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I have heard about it. I don't know where we are in it. I've never done that, so I would have to work with the county to talk to figure out how to work on that process.
It would show up through the AFR, the transfer of funds to be able to do that probably, because it's not coming out of bond proceeds, it's actually coming out of carryover capital.
Correct, and Mr. Chairman, members of the board, there are some legal requirements around that. The law changed, I think, around 4 years, or maybe it's about 6 years ago, that limited the prepayment of bonds because there was a concern that you're affecting investors. They were banking on making a certain amount of money, so to prepay it before they get their money, there's a requirement that they have to be callable in that sense, and I'm not exactly sure.
These were just callable in July of 23 and then 24. So that's why we've been waiting all this time sitting on the money.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you're further along in this conversation than I anticipated, so it sounds like you've already done some of the legwork. You probably worked with Steeple and the Maricopa County Treasurer to work on that process, so.
I was just curious of, hey, how much are we saving in interest over the next, because some of them are like out to 33. We're saving 10 years of interest. So.
Cool, all right.
Maybe Frank. can-
Other questions, members? Thank you.
Does this have to be approved? It says approval.
No.
Okay.
So next on the agenda is a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Remember, these are items that we simply take collectively, as you know, unless there's a member who would like to pull an item for discussion. Mr. Garcia, any item online to pull?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. So if there are no items to pull, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll make that motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, members, there is a motion and a second by Mr. Straka and Ms. Bosom respectively to approve the consent agenda as presented. Members, please cast your votes. Thank you, members. A motion carries unanimously with one not voting. Thank you. Moving on to section G. These are action discussion items. First is recommendation to approve the annual finance report and related financial reports for the fiscal year 22-23. Mr. Hicks.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Spurgeon, staff and community members, thank you very much for allowing me to also come up and present the annual financial report for your approval. Arizona's revised statute also requires that the governing board of a district approve the annual financial report before October 15th of the fiscal year of the following fiscal year. And so this satisfies that requirement. So I will first I would like to say thank you to all the staff here, because I've come in a little late in the game, approximately 10 days ago, to try to extract all the information out of our software, compile it, and then submit it ready for your approval. First, I've been doing this for 22 years, where I'm the business manager or higher and required to do an annual financial report. The annual financial report, whether it's here or any other districts, I'm also doing it in another district, has been the most difficult I've ever done in my 22 years. The forms have come out late. The forms have changed 120 times since the release. We did not even get all of the forms when they did release them. And so it has been extremely difficult just from logistically getting everything out and ready. I would also apologize. There are errors in this report. I've already started a conversation with a successor that will also be working with staff to revise this report and get it out. But because there was very little time from both ends being squeezed from the agency that released this and me coming in a little bit late, It wasn't, as I was going through, there's discovery, cannot solve everything and must continue so that we get the reporting requirement done, and we will come back and revise this at a later date. So just full disclosure on that. I will, now that I have the microphone, I will also say we are asking for some agency accountability. For this happening between a couple agencies that delayed and created all these problems. There's a bunch of districts getting together, trying to work with legislators that will probably try to create a little agency accountability in the sense that when these don't come, when the forms and the resources are not provided in a timely manner, our deadline should be delayed and pushed back to give us the time, because there's such a crunch that there's no surprise that there's errors all over the place, and districts across the state are finding and living in the same thing. So I don't mean to continue to pontificate a little too much here. I apologize that. So what I will say is that I also handed out a corrected memo of my errors, and so I apologize for that. Really just in sum total, in our AFR, what we're looking for is we had total expenditures in the M&O fund of $33.9 million. We did not have 11.1 expenditures in capital. We had 6.9. I apologize. Copying over report, did not double check, and I apologize for that. So what you see is a slight increase in our M&O expenditures of 1.6%. And you have a 40% decrease in our capital expenditures, our district additional assistance, our capital outlay. The expenses were approximately $11 million, and now they're come down to 6.9. So there was a reduction there. And then as we talked about the $2.4 million in bonds. So our big major funds, all very healthy. As you can see in the very next bullet, number 2, our ending fund balance. There's my error number 2. I said expenditures in FY22, the M&O ending balance was 1.1 million. And this year, the ending balance right now is $9 million. So that'll go down maybe 100 or 200,000 with some journal entries and some other revisions for your next one. But you can see extremely financially healthy. And we talked about the bond program, that you have a lot of money. We have a lot of money in the district additional assistance capital money. And so between all of them, we have a very strong financial foundation right now as you're moving forward. I'm not going to go through all of the other little bullet points. Some of these are just additional information that the Auditor General requires us to do and how much is going on. And so really, as I said, we're a very strong financial foundation. I did get a couple questions, so I did look them up. So one of the questions was looking at how our bond expenses are and our capital expenses, and can we basically commingle them in a sense. We cannot commingle funds, but you can split code purchase orders so that you could use bond and capital on an individual project. Capital can be used for almost anything bond, but bond cannot be used for anything capital eligible. So there are certain requirements on your bond funds that may or may not meet what you're trying to do. So you do have to do really expense by expense evaluation to see could they be split coded. The capital funds are going to be used to supplement the bond, as we talked about those bond projects. There is no problem with using our capital program funding balance to support those bond projects. That is completely fine and is a good use of those funds. So hopefully I asked that. One of the questions was in our 610 fund, what are the largest expenses, or just kind of a summary? The majority of funds in the 610 are pass through. So they're going out to member districts. And then the next 3 largest expenses were furniture and equipment at Northeast campus, and furniture equipment at Southwest campus, and then technology was the 3rd largest expense going through. So just to summarize the 610 expenses. So hopefully just a quick little summary. AFR is attached. Please look for an AFR in a future agenda item. Board meeting coming through with some corrections, but I will stand for any questions.
Mr. Hicks, thank you. Ms. Brown, with regard to the revised addendum from Mr. Hicks, please, if need be, consult with our counsel, but I would certainly like to see this posted with this agenda item if it is appropriate. Thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Hicks?
I appreciate everything you had to do coming in last minute, so thank you very much. I know sometimes coming in angling a spaghetti of expenses is always difficult.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much. I will tell you, the business office staff, everybody here has been super accommodating. Ms. Mays has done an amazing job to drop everything she's doing to help me find information because every district does it a little different. And so not all put in the same place, not all called the same thing. So everything took a little longer and I just appreciate. I feel bad that there's errors in it. I was rushing and we'll still be working to complete it, but thank you to all the staff here that helped.
So, thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you for the- But we do, members, we do need a motion and a second to approve this item.
So we're approving the passed out, one, correct? Because we
Yes.
have to have this posted 24 hours.
Yeah, we can't do that. I don't think.
No, you, so the information, we're actually approving the AFR,
Correct.
not the memo.
Okay,
Yes,
okay, I
Just
just,
corrections come. Excuse me,
Yeah.
Dr. Really.
Yeah.
And the corrections will come.
yeah.
one thing, okay. So I would move that we approve the AFR then, knowing that there will be,
There's a motion on the, if you open up your board docs item,
looking at it,
there's a recommended motion.
okay. Motion to approve the AFR and related financial reports for fiscal year 22-23.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second by Mr. Straka and Mr. Ramirez respectively. Members, any additional questions? If not, members, please cast your vote. Thank you, Mr. Davis.
So then you want the one.
Motion carries unanimously. So,
Question.
we're done.
Are you our new CFO?
So, so motion carries 6-0 with one not voting. Thank you, members. Next on the item, 2 items left in this section, ASBA policy recommendations. Space. Thank you. Welcome to the podium.
Good evening, members of the governing board. This is the second read for policies IGA, policy IGD, and policy IJJ. Very brief change to the policy, basically deleting the word board from the policy. All of the other elements of the policy are still intact. And it is just, it was recommended by the attorneys to eliminate confusion about board appointed or board authorized policies being subject to open meeting law. So this is the second read for that.
Thank you. Any questions on this?
The only question I had was on the curriculum development. It said that certified personnel that work on the curriculum have to have duties beyond the regular classroom. So that means teachers can't work on curriculum. It has to be,
Well, it is usually part of their additional duties. Sometimes they do curriculum work in the summer. Sometimes they do it after hours. But I think that was the premise when they made the modification to the policy, is that it shouldn't take away from their.
okay, I was reading it that it couldn't just be that they had to have. No, that makes more sense. I was just misreading them. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Do we need to approve those?
Yes, we do. Yes, so,
I would move that we approve them as presented for the second reading.
okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'd like to approve the ASBA policy recommendations on a second read for policies IGA, IGD. And it looks like I'm having trouble reading. Yes, thank you. So members, please cast your votes.
Because it didn't say approval, can we still vote and approve it? Because it just said second read,
Their action,
whereas second,
As adoption is presented, it's adoption, it's saying and adoption.
okay.
So who? Policies are adapted. My vote of 6-0 with one not voting. Thank you, members. Last action item of the evening, and I do want to start off with this. I received a call from our board attorney today. We can just simply, I believe, amend this or exclude this in the motion. But she requested that I pull the item SPS plus architects. It simply is not ready. I don't have the details, but it is not ready. So we can discuss the DLR group. And I think Dr. Spurgeon from Mr. Williams, you are up on this.
Matt.
I'll come up for moral support, sure.
Only moral support.
And this will be brought, the SPS will be brought back. So it's just that there were some issues that our attorney wanted to resolve.
Really?
Yes.
So really, the first step is the selection of the architects, which we did a couple of months ago, and now they brought their contract to us to actually start the work. So this is the contract for DLR to begin the master plan for the Southeast campus. We're not committing to building the campus. We're just, this actually sets them on the path to actually design the work that needs to be accomplished. Once that's done, then the work will actually still come back to the board. We haven't even selected the construction folks yet. So this is just a master plan for the architects. This is the process we've always used. So it's select the architects, then we approve the architectural fee of the contract, then they design the project, then we select the construction folks, then the project gets approved for us as we move forward. So this is just, this just allows for the district to be able to pay to start the project for master planning for the projects that have been approved. Matt, anything else?
That pretty much sums it up.
Without this, we can't do anything. There's no work to be accomplished because you can't work for free. So,
Yeah.
Board members do.
We know that going in.
Yes. So members, any questions?
Just, I think it would benefit our newer board members. Can you go through kind of the RFP process briefly and how DLR was selected?
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Pigarelli, members of the board. So we had, you'll recall that the board approved. When was that? Last January, February, for us to pursue these projects, exploration of these projects. That then came to the RFP process for identifying architectural services for each of the 4 projects that were presented. Mr. Heath, Mr. Welch convened a committee that then worked with our procurement officer in the business department to interview those that submitted their proposals. And that yielded 4 vendors for architectural firms, 1 for each of the projects. What the board approved in awarding those 4 architectural firms was not specific to a project. That then came later, and we assigned projects to each of those firms individually through meeting with Dr. Spurgeon and the interview committee, the selection committee. So now those firms know which project they're assigned to, and they were able to draft their fee schedule and associated agreements. So what's been presented tonight are 2 of those. It sounds like 1 is not yet ready for approval, but we would ask that the board consider moving forward with the DLR agreement at the Southeast campus. And then we would be able to bring back the other 3 agreements for the other 3 projects at a future meeting.
Mr. Williams, in this motion, it says, it mentions to authorize the superintendent to sign. In this case, it'll be simply the DLR group contract. But then it says and other affiliated documents. Can you give clarity to what those affiliated documents are?
I can't think of an example of an affiliated document to this particular agreement. The agreement stands on its own.
Addendums, I would think.
Yeah, if there's any addendums, and that's at the recommendation of the attorney to include that, so we just in case that there's one more thing that needs to be signed. That it doesn't touch the actual cost of it. It's just a little something else that they wanted to add, goes to the attorney says, yep, that's good.
As an example, if they find Indian remains, to have somebody come and remove that would be an addendum item. Though they really, they pretend they don't see it, is what I hear. But something like that, that comes out of the contingency fund would be my understanding.
Yeah, okay. Just any addendums do at times have cost and consequences
Right. And then
associated. And that would absolutely need to be brought back to the board. Thank you. Okay, so any other questions?
Dr. Really.
Yes.
Mr. Straka, I will also tell you that we're doing the same process with the construction companies as well. The only RFQ out right now is for the Southeast campus, so that process, just the bid was open today, I believe at noon. For those that bid for the Southeast campus, then the other 3 projects will come out as well. And there's a full team that interviews those companies. There's a scoring rubric and a process that we go through to pick the one that's suited for that project. So it's all very formalized.
Do we have any board members on that, or have any board members on this tier?
If
I'm
involved- if it's
interested, but
To be part of the construction, then you can't, then you wouldn't be able to vote. Yeah, so I would say no.
Okay,
Let's,
let me, can I?
wait. So Ms. Brown has clarity. Let's go through the board, Chair. When we're having this kind of a action item discussion, I want to be very precise. So just comments, spurious comments, I'm not going to, while I'm chair, I'm not going to have that. So Ms. Wiley, please
I don't
proceed.
have a comment, I just want to understand
Okay, well,
what's going on.
through the chair,
So-
thank you.
It sounds like you had 4 projects on the table. And you hired 4 different architects. They're not the same. So each of those architectural companies are going to get a project, but they don't know which one they're bidding for. Interesting, okay.
Chairman, Dr. Pingarelli, so board member Wiley, they do now. When they were, the architectural services were originally awarded, it wasn't awarded based on specific project assignment. It was just awarding those 4 architects. Some or all of that work. Following that meeting, we met with those firms and assigned project to each of those firms. Not required to do that. You could hire one firm to do all projects, but I think there's a lot of benefit from spreading that work out across multiple firms.
Thank you. Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Straka.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, so that was part of my question too. I was wondering why the board doesn't current versus like, what are the benefits to doing that instead of choosing 1 or 2? And the other thing too is in awarding the projects to a firm. Was that based on also their fees, costs, or what was that based on that decision to award?
Yes,
Chairman, Dr. Pingarelli, board member Ramirez. So there was a scoring rubric that took a lot of things into consideration. Some of the benefits come with being able to match a firm with a particular project. In some cases, if you consider the Southwest campus project and the expansion of the IT security program and advanced manufacturing space over there, that was really in the wheelhouse of the assigned firm for that project. We know that the larger scale project in the CTE space, DLR's got extensive experience globally, really, in designing these current technical education spaces. So you're able to give a little bit of that work to each of those different firms and garner their support. They each have unique expertise and advantages and benefits, and by doing it this way, we feel like we get a little bit of all four.
Yes.
So the other thing to keep in mind is Orchid Winslow actually got the bid for the Northeast campus, and they had an energy engineering and advanced manufacturing expert on their team that would be there every single day. So we're looking at those kinds of things, who had the expertise on their team that would oversee the project. And we matched those folks with the actual work that they've been able to accomplish. So we think we did a really good job of matching the four projects. Plus, in times past, we've used one or two different folks, and this time we're getting a chance to see a couple of different architectural firms to see what they can do for us. Yeah, we have so much support for West-MEC. It's, it really kind of spreads the wealth a little bit to be able to say, there may be some great ideas out there that if you don't take a chance and look around for a minute, you may miss something. So it's really the expertise matching, plus it's the rubric, the top scoring down to the lowest scoring firm that actually participated in it actually worked out exactly the way it fell down.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
So
Mr. Strucker.
I'd like to ask a little bit about the fees and how they work, and specifically going back to the Southeast campus, there's these rain collectors, the big barrels. My understanding is the ladders are dried out and it's no longer in service. Is that correct? Because that's what I was told.
Chairman Pingarelli, Mr. Stracker, those have never been a very heavily used item on that campus. The big picture was a great idea, but obviously we don't get really enough rainfall in the region to collect much rain. So they are functional. They still work, but there's just not enough rain collection to make them fully useful.
And here's my point with that. When those designs came, I said, I don't want to spend $450,000 for these big rain collectors. How much water are we going to have to recover to make those work? And on top of that, the architect got a fee. His fee is based on the cost to build. So he got a fee for putting in these design of these two $450,000 things. I don't want to see anything with rain collectors. I don't want to see anything with solar because those net are not effective. They cost as much as they produce. So that would be my 2 cents on that. It's like, I don't want to see another big rain collector that is going to save 5 gallons of water over 20 years.
Yeah.
Sure, Dr. Pingarelli, I will just add that one of the reason this timeline is important and in part the board's approval of this contract is it allows us to engage now in these types of conversation with stakeholder groups and engage in work groups, getting this important input, including board member input on expectations and good insights from previous experiences for this future campus.
Yeah, dovetailing on Mr. Strucker's comment, I recall going back to 2017, 2018, asking that exact question, why we put rain cisterns in. And we had the architects here, and I directly asked that question, and I was not given by either administration or the architects a satisfactory answer. Who was the architect that did that campus and those? DLR. Okay. That gives me cause for concern. Because that's $450,000 that could have been put to student use, student programs, student activities, expansion in other areas. And this is very disappointing.
Sure.
So, and we have decided to use this firm with that kind of error again.
Chairman Dr. Pingarelli, I will say that the committee has recommended DLR for this project. And again, not in defense of the rain collectors at Southwest Campus, I will say across firms, this was a pretty popular trend at the time. And it was meant, I think, to offset and help feed the irrigation and collect some of the waters. It aligns with some of the conservation efforts and recognitions that these buildings kind of get stamps of approval for. I don't recall the specific conversation back then or the explanation given, but we can certainly make it clear.
Did this come up in discussions? This, no.
No, sir.
It would have been a board discussion, so the committee would not have known about it at all. Because you wouldn't have known about it, would you?
No, Dr. Spurgeon wasn't here. See, Dr. Spurgeon, you're off. And I don't think Mr. Williams was here either. So, but this is cause for concern. You know, I certainly, I would like an answer to my question. I never got it from DLR. I'm not, I mean, someone can make a motion and a second, but I have concerns. $450,000 for something that is completely useless on taxpayer funded entity. Mr. Ramirez.
I have a question. Are these architectural plans, do they eventually come to the board for approval or any special architectural features like this one or add-ons? Does the board get to decide on any of that, whether they want to add stuff like that? Or remove from the plans?
We should review final design, so we'll get to see that.
Dr. Pingerelli.
Yes,
We do have a representative from DLR here, if you wouldn't mind her coming to the podium.
certainly.
Right, Katrina?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Board and President, Mr. President. My name is Katrina Leach. I'm a principal at DLR Group, an architect, and the plan is to be project manager on this upcoming proposed project. I would love to defend DLR Group in the sense that I know that we go through an extensive process, and I do know I was at DLR Group at the time, but I was not involved in those early conversations myself. We have done rain collection on other campuses that have been successful. To your point, they're not excessively in use in the sense that we're not, collecting for fields. We're using it for drip irrigation and usually still using xeriscaping to manage that. That said, I also know that there was some sustainable goals on that project. The leadership at the time really did push for sustainability. There was a net zero building there that did receive certification. And I know that a lot of the decisions were made were not made in a silo. They were made with the leadership and the team direction at the time. I know not many people here were part of that conversation, myself included, but that is what I could offer.
Thank you.
I do hear your concerns too, and I could assure you that as project manager and architect with the project, I will make sure that we listen to those concerns, and we'll take that forward and moving forward with the design.
Thank you.
And you did pass out like the last DLR person who came to speak.
Pardon?
You didn't pass out. She left in an ambulance.
Oh, no.
About 7 years ago, remember the lady with the long black hair? She was talking and she got dizzy and passed out. Maybe Elizabeth or someone, yeah.
Elizabeth Hawkins did a lot of work with West-MEC in the past. It could have been her, but I don't know what the circumstances were in that moment too, right?
I should probably lock her knees, but.
So I want to clarify, I don't entirely, then if my recollection serves me, if this was driven by administration for the zero sustainability and you were following the customer's request and the board wasn't on top of it, that, everybody bears some responsibility on that. So I would just like to see that in these economic times with inflationary pressures, with heightened, and I mean extremely heightened scrutiny on governing boards to perform and to ask questions and not simply rubber stamp. I want to see that we are doing the best for our constituents and our students.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that the board was really divided on the whole sustainability back then. But I would make a motion that we approve DLR and not, I guess, just DLR as presented. And as a side note, I think what would really help the board when we see the designs are what is the capacity now of the campus? And what does that do to the capacity when we finish? What is our enrollment and what is our projected enrollment? Because I think that's really, I think one of the things that I grapple with is how many students do we have? Are we getting maximum capacity? Also, with the way things have happened with school shootings, I want to make sure that we design a building, 8 years ago, we didn't have to think about the things we have to think about today. Even the number of teachers accused of sexual abuse and everything. I want to protect teachers. Do we have to put cameras in classrooms to protect teachers? What are those things that we have to do? So I would say approve it and the board can address those things as we move forward.
And since I've had a lot of commentary on this, I will second that approval. Because I was rather very straightforward and blunt, but that is our job. And so, and I would also like to see, as Mr. Straka said, well, first of all, there's a motion and there's a second by Mr. Straka and myself, further discussion. Okay, I will make the final discussion point then is that this also encompasses things like restrooms and safety, as Mr. Straka said. So there are a lot of considerations that 6 years ago, when I was a new board member, we didn't even phantom these things would need to be considered. So I think the board really needs to be very much involved in the design process going forward after the administration reviews and does its things. Okay, any further discussion?
Mr. Garcia has been quiet.
Mr. Garcia, do you have any comments?
Well, I do know that we have an advisory board for the building out of these facilities from the West-MEC side. And I do know they're throwing around ideas and everything. So I think that's maybe some notes from that group would be instrumental on what the community is saying about the build out, as well as our opinions on the board. Just hearing you guys a little bit, I can tell you that some of those ideas we're already gonna have a conversation about when we start to talk about it, because I think there's some things I didn't agree with, but we can get to that point when we start to discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Thank you. Okay, hearing no further discussion, members, please go ahead and cast your votes.
Can you unvote me? I hit my enter button before I got to.
Wait, just let me know what you want to vote, yes or no.
Yes.
There we go.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Yay, one not voting. Thank you, members. Moving on to future agenda items. Members, do you have any future agenda items that you would like to hear about? Ms. Wiley.
I don't know if it was taking place or going to take place or if it's on. But at one point, I heard Project Search was going to have an agreement with Banner.
Chairman Dr. Pingarelli, Board Member Wiley, I can say that there has been a desire expressed from Banner to serve as a future site. I don't know that right now either entity has the capacity to move on that, but it's certainly something that we look forward to continuing the conversation for. We think it'd be a great opportunity for Project Search, but we're not quite there yet.
So Dr. Spurgeon, if you could give us, based on Mrs. Wiley's request, any prognostication update on that.
Sure.
And I do have one item, and if I've missed it in a plethora of emails, my apologies to administration, but we had requested some time ago a report because we had authorized a number of car allowances and we were supposed to receive an update on mileage and so that the board could evaluate if going forward, these were warranted for all of the employees that we gave these car allowances. If we haven't received that, I would like to receive that in short order.
Yes, sir. It's coming next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, this is Robert, like
Yes,
the,
Mr. Garcia, go ahead.
sir, so I would like to see, I know that we're always chasing grants and other funding mechanisms for the school, for our courses, classes. I would like to get a report on the different grants the school's applying for, or chasing down, something they're targeting, just so we get some awareness of where those efforts are continuously. I see these all the time. I don't know if West-MEC's applying for them or not. But just some context of what other avenues we're trying to pursue. And then also we did talk about putting designs in the class, in the buildings, our buildings that we have built out that has a veteran connotation to it, or people that are serving from the school. I haven't seen that come out yet either. I'd like to see it. We're
So
still doing.
there was a second. I understand, Mr. Garcia, I understand your first request, which is a compendium of all the grants that are, I'm just restating your request for all the grants, current or future, that West-MEC. Can you restate your second request?
Sure. The second request was that we spoke about having a spot at the schools that would celebrate the students that joined the military. And we talked about placards and different ideas, but we kind of left it as that. That was a couple months back. Just kind of want to see what we're doing with that, if we're still even pursuing that, or you know, because I haven't seen anything at the schools at all. So I was just wondering.
Dr. Spurgeon.
So, Mr. Garcia, you'll see that the second posters just came out for the Career Literacy 2.0, and it'll be incorporated as a part of that new piece that'll be up on the wall to allow for the information as it relates to military. In fact, we're working with Pipeline AZ, and Pipeline AZ has articulated all of the military workforce development job opportunities with the actual programs. So you're going to see that incorporated in our career literacy as well. So it's coming. It's available on our QR code right now, but you're going to see it more formally articulated when we work with Pipeline AZ. So we're almost there.
Excellent. What I was thinking more though, Dr. Spurgeon, was if you go to some of the other universities or community colleges, or even actually South Mountain High School has it, so does North. They have a wall where the students, when they join the military, they get to put their picture on the wall.
Okay.
So we don't have that, and that doesn't celebrate student success in the military pipeline.
Yes, sir. That makes much more sense now. Now I have a real clear picture of what you're asking for. I was thinking another side of that, so I got you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. I think we got it. Thank you. Any other items, members?
Voting items, sick time and vacation for next month.
Absolutely. Okay. And now I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, members. Thank you, members of the audience.
That's the fastest I've seen one talk about anything.
Thank you, everybody.